everybody, it is Melanie Mitro and Katy Ersta, and we are the hosts of the Make Chic Happen podcast.
And this podcast is for you, friend. We're going to dive into the skills, mindset, and systems you need to build a successful social media presence, and it supports your business goals.
All right, and I am Melanie Mitro, one of the co-hosts, and I have left my full-time career in early intervention to be a stay-at-home mom, and I'm seriously craving something more.
All right, and I'm Katy. I am a stage 4 cancer survivor. I absolutely love all things storytelling, and I was a teacher who truly just wanted to get the groceries paid for. Never in a million years did I see what would happen with this business.
Oh my gosh, and here we are, 10 years later, and we have built multi-million-dollar businesses from our laptop, from our kitchen tables, basically anywhere that you have Wi-Fi. And the cool part is now we get to teach other people how to do the same.
So just 2 female entrepreneurs who are wives, moms, and we're also besties who want to take you on the journey right alongside us to help you build a business that you love and a life that you desire.
All right, so come on in, check out today's episode. Well, hey everybody, it is Melanie and Katy, and we are back for the Make Chic Happen podcast, and we're gonna talk about everything Reels today. But before we do that, we have to let you know that our social media course, it's called Social Media 101, The Chic Way, is now officially open for enrollment. And we're so excited because you know, people spend so much time out there on the internet or taking random classes that teach you one tiny little piece about how to have a social media marketing strategy. You might take a course on how to find your ideal target audience or how to create Instagram Reels or how to write really good captions, but nobody really puts it together and gives you the full, everything from your brand to setting things up to the finished product and how it's actually creating revenue. And we did that. We created a course for you that teaches you every single step of the way when it comes to marketing. And so it's 8 lessons, right?
It is. It's 8 lessons. There's tons of bonus materials. And actually, we put in there our Reels course as well. So it's kind of like a mini course. I don't know if there's a technical name for it, but we actually did this totally free challenge earlier this month. So it closed out at the beginning of the month, and we were blown away. There were over, I think it was like 2,500 people
there were
registered for this free challenge, but we were blown away by just how much they were really starting to implement and they were really starting to use it. And so we were like, of course, we've got to add that as just a bonus item as well. So
absolutely,
it's been so good.
It has been good.
We get to talk about Reels a little bit today on the podcast, and I'm sure that's why you're here. You maybe clicked on it. You want to know more about Reels, and you probably, you probably already know that Reels are a huge part of our growth strategy here on Chic Influencer. But in general, if you're a business owner who is marketing your products or services or your experience on social media, Reels should absolutely be a part of the creation. It should be a part of the content you're putting out there. And it doesn't mean that you have to do it every day, but it does mean you have to decide that you're going to commit to doing it on a consistent basis. And so today we want to simplify that for you. We want to walk you through a couple things we believe are necessary to really succeeding with Reels.
And even when we were doing the Instagram Reels, the free challenge, and we actually talked about this, it was the mindset behind it. Just how often people go, oh, I don't want to learn a new technique or a new skill, you know? And so people kind of, they push back, or they say, it makes me feel uncomfortable to put myself in front of camera. But if you look at Instagram Reels, and we've talked about this in previous lessons, Reels really is what's getting organic reach. It's reach that you don't have to pay for. And even we've been doing little experiments even with our own accounts. And I noticed, you know, even from posting consistent Reels, my engagement with, you know, people that aren't even followers of myself, it went up like 90%.
That's so awesome.
It's crazy. So you have to say, all right, do I want to grow my business? And if the answer is yes, I want want to grow my business. I want to get in front of more people that are interested in my product, service, or experience. Then I have to be willing to say, this makes me uncomfortable. I recognize that this is not something I've done before, but I'm going to embrace the strategy because it's part of marketing. It's part of getting yourself out there and bringing people back.
Yeah.
So we're going to simplify the whole process of actually creating reels today. So from start to finish, how do we actually go through and create reels in a way that is smart? It's not time wasting, and we're just being efficient with our time.
Yeah, and I'm so glad you actually addressed the elephant in the room, and that's avoidance. A lot of times you go, oh, I know I should create the reel. I need to do the reel. I have to do the reel. But we avoid it because it is uncomfortable, or we haven't done it, or maybe we've tried it before and we didn't get the engagement we want. And then we kind of shell up and we go, oh, maybe I don't need to. We're going to push it aside. But today we want to bring it to the surface. We want to actually make it our primary focus. And everything that we go over, these are just some of our tips and strategies, but everything we talk about today is meant to simplify the process for you. It's meant to make it very, very much easy to implement, and then ultimately see growth in not just your engagement, but also in your sales. So step one is really just simplification through batching your content. And by batching your content, that means that you are going to end up creating more than one piece of content at one time. And this is super simple to do through Instagram because they allow you to save multiple drafts within the platform itself. So within Instagram, you can actually save drafts. You can start with a few of them and then come back and post them and share them with your audience later. So the first thing that I would definitely recommend when you're batching your content is to put the time into the calendar for you to be able to do it. So I'm going to do a shameless plug, and if you're watching on YouTube, I'll show it to you here. But the one thing that Melanie and I do is we go into our time blocker. And we actually carve out time every single week, whether it's once a day for 30 minutes or it's, every single day for 10, 15 minutes. We actually carve out the time to create the reels. Now, just like anything, the more you do it, the faster you get, the more productive you become, the more you just become efficient at actually doing the reels. So the first thing that we do is we actually carve out time to create reels. But by reel creation, there's a few things that we do. Number one, we probably do some market research. We probably see what exactly is doing really well on Instagram. What are the things that we believe our audience would receive well? What can we actually save down? What can we actually come back to and actually use as audio later? Are there certain other pieces of content that other creators have made that we can go, I can use that for my own brand and I can do as well? So what I would suggest first is to set a timer. Block out your time and set a timer to do your market research first. Once you've done that, you're then going to look at your timer again and you're going to say, okay, how much time do I need to actually create a reel? How much time is it going to take for me to not just create maybe an easy reel, one that doesn't involve a lot of transitions or fancy captions or anything like that, but you're just going to get into the habit. So once you kind of create that habit of researching the reels, creating the reels, then you can come back and you can go and do your copy.
Okay.
So
I feel like I have to stop you because I know our listeners and they are like, but what do I research? What do you mean by that? So can we kind of walk them through, like, what does it mean to research to figure out what reel I'm going to actually do?
Thank you for doing that. Okay. So let's actually take it a step back. So first step you're going to do when you're researching is you're going to just open your Explore button up on your Instagram app. And you're actually going to watch a few reels. And then if you look at a reel and say, I can recreate that because I can make it in a way that would appeal to my audience or is on brand for what I do, you would just save either the audio or save the actual reel to come back to later.
And one of the things I do is when I'm saving content on Instagram, I look at my thumbprint. So if you have the Make Chic Happen planner, we talk about thumbprints. And even in previous episodes of the podcast, we talk about the thumbprint method, but I'm going to save them into collections that are based on my thumbprints. So it might be, anti-inflammatory. It might be, my spouse. It might be chic influencer. And so I'm really, because I'm not just going out there and randomly saving stuff. I'm like listening to the sound. I'm looking at the reel and saying, how can that fit into my brand and my marketing strategy? And then which of the thumbprints is it going to go in? That way we're sort of staying on track with our marketing message.
And there's so much we can say about that, especially when it comes to, okay, but I really like this reel and I want to recreate it. And that's fine. But then if you ask yourself, is it actually serving your audience? Is your audience going to be receptive to it? Is that the type of content they want? And if the answer is no, it might not be the right content to actually create. It might not be the right content in the moment to actually do. And even in the Social Media 101 course, this is a huge part of just how we teach, what do I post? What do I actually create? So going back to what we were saying when it comes to batching content, step 1, you're doing your research. Step 2, then you carve out the time to create the reel. In the free Reels training that we just did, we talk about starting simple, creating one, just starting with a simple, not even necessarily a lot of transitions, just to get yourself into the habit of actually creating the content. Then, once you have your content created, the video footage created, you're going to go back and you're going to actually write the copy for it. And when you write the copy, you're asking yourself, how does this help my audience? In what way am I serving them? And most importantly, what's the call to action? What do I want them to do with this piece of content? So once you've done that, you are then going to either share it or you're going to save it as your draft to share it later. My goal usually is to always have 3 drafts on hand.
Do you?
Yeah, I try to have about 3.
I'm not that good.
I've seen your drafts. You've got a lot of drafts in there, though.
Interesting. A lot of them are drafts that I've just saved and downloaded elsewhere.
Okay.
So they kind of need cleaned out.
You just need it cleaned out.
They need cleaned out.
I do.
Yeah.
I usually do it once a week.
Okay.
And I will sit and find, once I've found the ones that I'm going to use, or I already have my audio or my reels saved, I will go back and then I will recreate it. And I keep things simple. And that's just because of the time that I'm willing to put into my reels. The content, the copy is great, but I don't necessarily use a lot of transitions or outfit changes. And that's not really something that's on brand for me. And so I do try to keep about 3 drafts on hand at any given time. So once I've had those drafts kind of on hand and I'm ready to write the copy for it, and then I'm ultimately ready to share it, I then think about the second item, which is going to be about the other part of successful reels. Do you want to talk about like step 2?
Yeah. All right. So when we talk about when we're looking at the success of a reel, planning is everything, right?
Yeah.
So whether you're batching content or you're saying, okay, I'm just going to mark off 30 minutes every day to create content, kind of knowing what it is that you want to do going into that actual creation section. Now, when we look at successful reels, there are a couple of things that we focus on. So when you're looking and you're doing some research and you're looking for a reel, you really want to say to yourself, okay, the sound, like when you're scrolling reels, you'll look like where the actual sound is at. If you see this arrow, that means it's trending. If you just see the musical notes, it's just a regular reel, right? It's not currently trending. And trending means more people are using it. So it has a likelihood of you being seen because more people are using it, which means more people are watching it, which means it's more likely to show up in the search function and you'll have more visibility. So I do try to choose sounds that are actually trending at that. And when I see that they're trending, I kind of try to jump on that trend because I know that there's more possibilities of engagement right then and there, right? So that's kind of the first thing that I do. The second thing is obviously the creation of the reel. I'm just going to give a few quick tips. And we learned this from even our Reels boot camp. When you're creating a reel, quality is important. So you want to make sure, simple thing, wipe off your phone, right? So make sure your camera is clean. It doesn't look like there's a film or dirt over it, right? Like just simple things you may not think about. And make sure that you have good lighting. So where we're sitting right now, even as we're filming this podcast, is there's a big window on the other side of where the camera is. It's giving us natural light. If it's a darker day, you want to have a ring light. They're great. You can buy them on Amazon, but you need natural light or good lighting. Yeah. We don't want it to be dark and grainy because quality actually does matter when it comes to creating the reel, right? You can put a trending song or sound with a low quality video and it's not going to do very well. Yeah. All right. So you need high quality. Quality is important. Also, just even thinking about where you're creating the reel, make sure your background, it fits what you're doing. Obviously, if you're talking about mom life and you want to portray that life is a mess and you're a hot mess, okay, then a messy kitchen is going to be fine in the background. But if you're trying to do something a little more professional, you don't want your dirty laundry or dirty dishes in the background. So you want to think about your background as you're doing it. All right.
And even so with the background, it is very natural for people to be very curious about what's going on behind you. So if there's a lot of distraction, even if you're the hot mom, mess mom kind of thing, you also want to say to yourself, are there things in the camera that would actually distract the viewer from what I'm actually saying? So I always look at backgrounds and I always think, okay, is there an area that you can just turn the camera and it's a little bit cleaner? There's not so much going on.
Yep. Okay, so the next thing is once you have the actual video content created, the sound, now it's actually adding the caption, or not caption yet, just the words, right? So when we put the words that go with the actual video. For starters, a lot of times people do not listen with the sound on. So if you're talking in your reel, you can choose the caption sticker, which will auto caption it for you.
Right.
If you are wanting to put words on it, I encourage you to make sure that the first section of words that pop up, it's your hook. It's what's catching people.
Yeah.
And so if it is not something that makes your ideal target audience go, oh, I need to know more. For example, just did a reel about what I eat in a day because people ask me all the time, what do you eat in a day? And so that was what first popped up, what I eat in a day. So that was the first thing. And then I went through and each time a new picture or video of what I was eating came up, it was another caption.
Okay.
And then at the end, you're always thinking about what do I want people to do with this? So you think some people, when they watch reels, they're just watching the reel. They might not even look at what the caption says. So you want to, at the end of your reel, if you're giving more advice in the caption.
Sure.
If this is supposed to be a call to action to buy something from you or sign up for something, you need to say, read the caption or free resource, click link below. And so you need to tell people what to do at the end of the reel. So that's important. Your text is really key. We need to grab people at the beginning with sort of that hook to know, like, why should I watch this reel? And at the end, we need to tell them what to do.
Yeah.
So once we've put our wording on the actual reel, the next most important step is the actual caption. And people forget this. They forget to they just think, oh, nobody's going to read the caption. But this is what gives it purpose. So again, what I eat in a day. And then if you go through and you're listing out, I find that it was very helpful to give my audience insight. This is the brand that I make of oatmeal, and then tag the brand. This is the brand of protein powder that I use. Tag the protein powder. This is the supplements I take. Tag the company that I buy my supplements with. So now they're reading, or maybe it's recipes, tagging the blogger that I got the recipe from. And so now that caption is adding value to the actual viewer's life. They can gain knowledge from that. They can go out and replicate some of the things that I've done. And so they're more likely to comment. They're more likely to share the video. And so I'm always thinking about, what is the caption supposed to be doing? Is it building trust and credibility? Is it giving advice? Am I purely just entertaining people and wanting them to like share in what's going on in my life, right? So I'm thinking about, what do I want people to do with this reel? And how can I make sure the caption drives that point home at the end? All right. Did I miss anything there?
No, I just wanted to make sure you were here.
Yeah, that's where I'm at.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay, because I was like, well, we went to number 3 already. Okay, perfect. All right, then the last thing we want to consider when it comes to those key components are going to be our hashtags.
Yes.
And I always tell people, let's not overthink it. If you have a really high quality piece of content, it will show up in the Explorer without people necessarily going and exploring via hashtags.
Yeah.
But hashtags are important. We always put them now in the caption, and you can have up to 30. It's very rare that I actually use 30.
Yeah.
Now, we are going to be talking about specific hashtag strategy on the March 3rd episode of the Make Chic Happen podcast. So I just want to note that as well, that there will be an entire episode that's dedicated to specific hashtags.
Yeah.
But when you think about those key components when it comes to the hashtags, you want to make sure that no matter what you're selecting, you're choosing hashtags that have to do with the content that you're putting out. We can get into the habit of just having in our notes section different hashtags and then just copying and pasting those. If you look at those and they really don't have anything to do with the specific topic that you're talking about, it's actually not going to be beneficial at all to the piece of content that you are putting out there. And then the last thing that I just want to note that's incredibly important no matter what type of reel you're creating, whether it's to entertain or to inform or to persuade people to sign up with the products or the services that you have to offer, you're always coming from a place of, does this serve my ideal client?
Yeah.
Why am I posting this type of content? What is it that matters? Why is it? What do I want them to do with it? Not just having that call to action, but really clarifying before you push post or before you click that button. Is it beneficial to them? Is it serving them in some way? Because if it's not serving them, all we're doing is kind of like showing up without purpose and maybe touting ourselves on the back. I'm not really sure exactly, but I do know that if we aren't really serving people, we're not going to cultivate an audience. We're not going to create a comeback. We're not going to get people to ultimately trust us and sign up with the things that we have to offer.
Yeah. So there's a strategy behind it. Just because reels are the hot thing right now doesn't mean it's just a shoe in, it's going to work. There still is a marketing strategy behind what you do and why you do it.
For sure.
Right? And so we hope that in today's episode, we've made it a little easier to navigate reels. And if you want more from Katy and I regarding reels and social media in general, make sure you head on over to chicinfluencer.com or visit the show notes. Make sure you purchase the course. I know that you can use the coupon code podcast. I think.
It's just in the show notes.
It's in the show notes.
Yeah.
All right. It is in the show notes.
Yeah.
And you can actually get a little bit of a discount when you
$20.
use. Yeah.
$20 off.
So, So, you guys, we will see you back here next week. We're going to be diving into hashtags a little bit more, but thanks for hanging out with us today.
Absolutely.
All right. So, if you loved today's episode, make sure you head over to wherever you listened to the episode today and leave us a rating and review. And also, take a little screenshot and tag us on Chic Influencer. We'll feature you in our stories. Plus, we'd love to get your feedback and hear from our listeners.
Until next week, let's make chic happen.